What's up? Welcome back to the Jared Williams Show. My name is Jared Williams. Got my guest here, Eddie Barkhurst.
Hey, man.
What's up, dude? Today we're going to get into lessons we learned the hard way so you don't have to. And we've learned a lot of lessons.
Yes, we have.
Some of them had cost us a lot of money and a lot of heartache and a lot of time. And hopefully we can save you all of that. Before we do that, make sure and go check out our podcast sponsor. They're the ones who make this possible for you guys because they're freaking awesome. PlumbLine at plumblineanswers.org. They're a 24-hour answering service. They'll answer your phones and book it into your schedule, and you only pay per booked call instead of paying by the minute like most answering services who don't care about booking calls. They just care about staying on the phone and billing you a bunch of money. These guys are great. We use them in all of our businesses, every business we've ever owned, other than the Wealthy Plumber because we don't answer phone calls, but they're super rad. So go check them out. PlumbLineAnswers.org. If you say you heard about them from this podcast, you get 1 week of free book calls, so you can go try them out at no cost to you. If they suck, fire them. If they're awesome, keep them. But they're going to be awesome, so you're going to want to keep them. Okay. Today we're talking about lessons we learned the hard way. So I feel like that's how I've learned most of my lessons.
Yeah.
I've learned very few the easy way.
Right. I don't know. They say, I don't remember who said it, that success is a lousy teacher.
Yeah.
It gives you confidence that you probably shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And so like easy lessons learned is not necessarily a good thing. Probably inflates your confidence well beyond what it should be.
Agreed.
And then the hard lessons come.
Agreed. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you think you got it all figured out.
Yeah.
You've been a little
Dude,
bit
I'm
successful.
unstoppable.
I'm unstoppable.
And then do the dumbest shit ever.
Yep. Because you didn't know. Because you didn't get to learn the lesson.
Yep.
It's kind of weird because like there are a ton of lessons I've learned especially from like starting to now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's weird because I went, I got pretty successful. And then there were lessons that a lot of people are going to learn along the way that I didn't learn because I didn't have that same particular problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't, I learned of that problem later and then had to learn that lesson later than some other people learn it. So
yeah,
it's kind of an interesting thing, but what is it? There's another saying about being smart is learning from your lessons, and something about being a genius is learning from other people's mistakes or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so this is your chance
for
the listeners to become a genius. So where did it all start? I got a little bit of an outline here. How did you get started in the trades?
Back in, I don't even remember when I started that job before, but I was armed security. I worked down in Delta Junction, which is up from here. I worked in Delta Junction on Fort Greely as an armed.
Before you had tattoos or after?
Long before.
Right.
I had $0, no tattoos. I was an armed security. I was dating my old lady. She was my girlfriend then. We were dating, and I got this job, and it was a decent job. And I was like, okay, this is the most money I've ever made per hour. I feel like this is pretty good.
Yep.
It was like $22 an hour is what I was making. And then we got married, and I moved up to Fairbanks and did armed security there it was a little bit less there, but I was doing
armed security. Is this like mall cop? Fake security?
No.
What are we talking about?
This was at the military base. So at Fort Greely, there's a missile defense base out at Fort Greely.
Yeah.
And so I was the main gate security guard.
Gotcha.
Access control, checking IDs basically is what it was.
Yeah.
And if someone didn't have the right pass to get on base, then I told them how they could go get that. And if they didn't get it, then they were just denied entry.
Did they let you carry?
Yeah.
Huh.
In fact, we carried Beretta M9s to begin with. And then there was a shotgun in the guard shack, and we carried pepper spray. So it was kind of legit in that the interview process, we had to go through it. The interview process was easy. They did background checks and they checked if you had any outstanding debt. Like if you had a bunch of debt, then they considered you pretty compromised. Someone could come through and be like, hey, here's 10 grand. Just let me get on the base.
Yeah.
So they didn't want anybody like that. If you had a background issues, a felon, and you're not allowed to have guns, obviously you didn't qualify.
That's not gonna work. Yeah.
But yeah, the shift started for me. I worked nights for a bit. It was 13-hour shifts. I worked nights and then eventually got on days. But the start of the shift was you went and got you checked out your guns. You turned in night shifts guns and then you went and got your guns. And then, you were required at Fort Greeley, you were required to carry one in the chamber. And so you did that at the cop shop, and then shotgun just went in the rack in the guard shack. Because it was a missile defense base, you were required to have one in the chamber there. And then you went through firearms training every year, and you had to qualify to shoot every year. And it was pretty easy, but you also had to get pepper sprayed. And while you're getting pepper sprayed, you got to chase down the bad guy and put handcuffs on him and then call for backup. And so it was somewhat legit.
So you got pepper sprayed?
Yeah.
Dude, that sucks, doesn't
it? It was terrible. It was, yeah, you stand there and then somebody sprays you with pepper spray and then you have to.
I don't know why this is so funny, but I can't picture you allowing somebody to pepper spray you today.
I mean, today, no, for sure. But I wanted that sweet $22 an hour.
Yeah.
And so you stand there and then they just spray you from like 10 feet away or whatever. And then you have to maintain your composure and then complete these tasks and follow whatever direction you're given. And then afterwards you wash your eyeballs out with baby shampoo. And then after that day was done, I went home I was staying at a hotel, and took a shower, and then all the pepper spray from your hair washes into your eyeballs. And so you do it all over again later. But, yeah, so I was armed security down there. And then when I moved up to Fairbanks, if you didn't have a bullet in the chamber in Greeley, you got fired because you're not following the direction. In Fairbanks, you're told, and maybe I don't know if I should say this, you're not supposed to have a bullet in the chamber, at least at the time. Not supposed to have a bullet in the chamber. And if you had a bullet in the chamber, you got in trouble. And so they trained you on how to chamber a bullet before you have to shoot. Nobody.
So to draw chamber shoot.
Yeah.
You never had a chance to shoot.
No.
Damn it.
Dude, it was just people going to work.
Yeah.
Soldiers that were going to get groceries and coming back. And like the wildest stuff that we had to do was late at night. This guy, hey man, have you been drinking? No. It smells like you've been drinking. And we pull him over, and then the cops will do a field sobriety test and stuff like that. We just told on people that had a tail light out, or their tags were expired, or their license was expiring soon, or it was whatever. But it paid $22 an hour.
Sweet. And then what?
So then I went from there. By the time I was in Fairbanks, I was married. My wife's dad owned a plumbing, and they did commercial plumbing, but they were getting into service. I came home from my security job, and she said, my parents are coming over for dinner tonight. And I was like, okay, why? And she said, because my dad wants to offer you a job. And I said, doing what? She said, I don't know, service or something. I'm not sure. And I said, ain't no way I'm working for your dad. I've worked for family before. It sucks. I'm not interested in working for family again. And she said, well, they're coming over tonight and he's going to make you an offer.
Gonna pitch you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I said, fine. Once this is over, I can go back to my normal job of being a security guard and it'll be great. Before that, I had applied and turned in my application to become an electrician. And I had my interview with them, and months had gone by. I heard nothing, and I was like, well, that's not going anywhere. And so I just went back to I'm going to be a security guard. And then I had that conversation with my father-in-law, and I was like, this actually sounds like a pretty good opportunity. It's more money per hour, and it's got some advancement there that I certainly don't have being security. Maybe this isn't a bad idea. I hate the idea of working for my father-in-law, but maybe this isn't a bad opportunity. It would probably be pretty stupid for me to just shut it down. And so I talked with him a bit more about that and decided to take him up on that offer. And that was September 07 is when I started working for him. And it was probably the best move, one of the best moves I've ever made, career-wise, getting into that field. I started out as a service technician. I walked in and he handed me a combustion analyzer and he said, figure out how to use this because you're going to need it. And I said, what is this? And he said, it's an analyzer. I'll show you how to use it real quick. And so we put it in a boiler exhaust, and he goes, and that's basically it. So
did he even know how to use it?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, like he knew what it did and pretty much knew what the numbers told you. And that implies some work to do on the other end. But no, it was not an exhaustive training course on how to use an analyzer, but I was told to figure out how to use it. And that was kind of my whole apprenticeship, I suppose. That was before I actually got into the apprenticeship. But it was figure out how to use it.
Yeah.
The message was become an asset, figure out how to become an asset.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, sounds good. If I develop this opportunity good, I can make some really good money. So I really ought to figure out how to become an asset.
Yeah.
And that was my introduction into the trade. Before that, I came from, and all of that backstory, I came from an area where I knew nothing about, I was not in a trade. I knew nothing about this type of work. I didn't know that it was a profession. I thought, if your heating went out, then you fixed it yourself. I didn't know you could call somebody and have them come to your house and fix it.
Yeah.
And so now all of a sudden I'm thrust into this opportunity and told, you need to figure out how to become this type of person. And I said, okay, sounds good. I'm down. I knew that if I developed that opportunity, then I didn't know what it would bring. I just knew that it would be better than whatever I have now.
And so who taught you? Because I think this, like, most people wouldn't be presented with this opportunity and then take advantage of it. Well, they wouldn't ever go, I've got an opportunity. I need to become the kind of person that can take advantage of it.
Sure.
Most people don't do that. And then most people go to work, even if they are with an opportunity, they're like, okay, now you got to train me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that probably didn't happen because I know you're
right.
The history a little bit, right?
So I've had journeymen over the years who've taught me, and again, this is before that was he owned a union construction plumbing shop, and part of the agreement was you must join the apprenticeship, but they're starting a service apprenticeship, which I think is in January, which was a few months from the date I got hired. I think it's in January, and they should take you into train then. But then that ended up getting postponed a year, and I think it got postponed another year. So I have had journeymen, and I did have apprenticeship training program.
Yeah.
But all of that, I guess, was feeding me instruction too slow or not at all. And so I could tell that if I were to become an asset, which is what I was asked to do from the beginning, that I needed to acquire all of this on my own. And so my instructor was whatever book I was reading.
Yeah.
In fact, I took this job, and the first few days at work, I realized just how little I knew. And so this is back when books were written on paper, if you guys remember that. Yeah. I went to Barnes and Noble, and they had I don't remember what the section was, but they had a section that on hydronic heating and books and electricity and stuff and plumbing. And so I went there and I looked through those, and I found some books that seemed like they might be useful, and I bought them. And then I went home and I just started reading. 07, I think the iPhone came out in 07 or 08. and I think YouTube was created in 2007, but the first video was not how to tune an oil burner in 2007.
Fortunately.
So resources like that just didn't exist. Podcasts weren't a thing. I mean, they might have. I never heard a podcast at that point. And so the only instruction I could get was from books. And
10 years from now, people are going to be saying,
what the?
AI didn't exist. Like, you
Right.
could just ask ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of those resources existed. And so I just went the old school way and read books.
Yep.
I went and I got a bunch of books and highlighters, which was dumb because when you're starting out and you know nothing about a trade, everything on that page is relevant. And so
Yeah.
I would look back and I see a whole page highlighted. Might as well just highlighted the whole book. All of it's important.
Yeah.
And so I just read books, and at the time, which is still kind of the case there was no licensing required to be an HVAC technician or to do heating, oil heating. There's no license required.
Right.
And so that was my avenue to get really, really good at it, because it didn't need any licensing to begin with. So if I had the knowledge and acquired the skills, then I could make money without having to attend some sort of school or training.
Yep.
And that's what I did. I had a big stack of books that I just read and read again. And I spent all of my spare time just reading books and figuring out what it is I'm supposed to be doing.
Yep.
I went, obviously I worked on the job and was learning shit throughout the day on the job, but I was usually under the supervision of somebody, and what my father-in-law really needed was for me to go out on my own and become a good enough technician that he didn't need someone babysitting me the whole time.
Yeah.
And so, again, I've had lots of journeymen over the years teaching me stuff, but the majority of my education came from self-taught or self-led training, reading books and stuff at home.
Yeah. And then you worked there for 15 years. And then some butthole came and offered you a job.
Yeah.
To be a general manager.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So initially that guy came along and he offered me a job to be a technician at his company. This guy, this butthole, it's Jared.
Right across from you.
You initially asked me if I would come be a technician for you over at Prospector.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, you must have had one guy hired. But I remember when you were building Prospector, you would call me regularly and tell me what's going on. At the time
was planting the seed.
Yeah. I thought, I was like, man, this is just a guy telling me what's going on. And I don't know if it was your intention or not, but
totally.
the effect
100%.
that it had.
I'm a really good planner.
Yes, you are. The effect that it had was, dang, he's doing that. That's way different than where I'm working. Oh, shoot, he's going to do that. That's way different than where I'm working.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like, I got this picture that you were building something that was way cooler than anywhere that I had worked, which was one place for my father-in-law. It was way cooler. And it sounded like there's more structure and more intention and ultimately a brighter future than what I had. And so I was like, this sounds really, really good. This sounds awesome. I'd tell my old lady, Jared's doing this thing, which is crazy. Nobody does that. Jared's going to pay like this, which is wild. No one does that. And you asked me at one point if I'd come be a technician for you. And I was like, man, I can't remember what your offer was. And I was like, I'm making this much over here. I think it was 52 at the time. I'm making 52 over here. It'd be tough for me to go over there and make less than that. And then there was also the difficulty of I'm working for my father-in-law to go work for not my father-in-law.
You're technically working for your father-in-law at that point in time out of the HVAC union, right?
Yeah, the sheet metal union. Yeah. So I started out in the plumbing union.
Yep.
And then eventually we started working for the sheet metal company doing HVAC.
Yep.
And I became a sheet metal worker, and they had a higher package. And I was making foreman scale, which was like 52 an hour there.
Yep.
Plus benefits and whatever else. And so, I mean, that was a sweet package to me.
It's also kind of looked down upon to leave the sheet metal union and go work in the plumbers union.
Me and the plumbers had a not very nice separation
Right.
years ago. And so then I was working for the plumbers, and then a bunch of stuff happened. And then I withdrew from a plumbing union and was working non-union, which all kinds of drama came from that. And then I went from non-union to working sheet metal union, which all kinds of drama came from that because you're a plumber, aren't you? And the unions hate each other and the
Yep.
different trades and all
Yep.
that. And then I left the sheet metal union to go work for a plumbers union shop. I wasn't going to be union. Well, if I were as a technician, I'd be back out of the plumbers union again,
Yep.
which I thought would just be too much drama for you and too much conflict for you. And at one point I said, dude, if I withdraw from this, then I forget what do they call that? Where I would have to pay back all the money and training that they put into me. And I was like, I thought for sure I would scare you away with that number. It was like 12 grand. And you said, I don't care. I'll pay it. And I was like, dang, there goes that excuse. And you kept pressing me for about a year. And then your phone calls and your updates and conversation was pretty steady for that whole entire year. And you kept asking me to become a technician for you. But then you called me one day and you had a different offer of, I want you to be my GM.
Yep.
I'm going to need a GM is what you said. And I want you to be my GM.
I'm going to need it. And you're the man.
And I said, well, that sounds interesting. I said, I seem to remember that conversation. You don't want me to be your GM.
Yes, I remember that conversation going that way.
And you said, what? Of course. And I said, no, you do not want me to be your GM. I don't know anything about this. I'm sure I've acquired horrible habits along the way. I'll run your shop the way that I've only ever seen shops run, and you don't want that, and you don't want me to be your GM. And you said, well, I'm not ready for it yet, but when I am ready for it, I'm going to want you to do that. And so it was just a few conversations over the phone. You said it'd be fall time, and it was like May or June. You were telling me about this. In the fall, I'll be ready for that.
Yep.
And I thought I had a while, and then the fall came up pretty quick. And you and Christelle took me and Daleen out for dinner, and I brought my daughter, which wrecked our dinner plans. We couldn't sit.
That's right.
Yeah, we couldn't sit. I just assumed. But we couldn't sit at that one table because there wasn't enough chairs. So basically, we lost that reservation, and so we went somewhere else. And so then you guys gave me the formal offer, and I was like, dang, this sounds very interesting. And so then on the drive home, I was talking to my old lady, and I was like, dude, this sounds too good to be true, honestly. But it sounds like what I'm looking for. I'm looking to get out of the field because at that time I was hella old and like joints were hurting, and this is a good way to get out of the field.
Yep.
And I think this is the right opportunity to take. My hesitation was, now I got to tell my father-in-law.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of history there. And that was like the conversation I dreaded the most, was telling my father-in-law that I'm going to take this opportunity. And I didn't really have a plan for that I rarely have a plan for conversations. I just, the whole conversation will develop and I'll just follow it however it goes.
Yep.
I was working on this job and doing some refrigeration for this old folks home, and he just showed up on the job. And this was, I think, the day after, or the next business day after our conversation. And he just showed up at the end of the day. And this is all I've been thinking about all day long. Just showed up out of nowhere to see how the job was going. And I just started the equipment up. And so I had some adjusting to do and watching and making sure it was operating like it was supposed to. And he comes in, and I was like, oh, hey, I didn't expect to see you here. Well, I just wanted to see how the job was going. And I'm like, dude, now's the time to say this. And I said, so I've been given an opportunity. And he said, oh, what's that? I said, Jared wants me to come be the GM for him at his business he's building. And I expected him to kind of, whoa, you can't do that. We've worked together for so long and we've got all these projects going and I rely on you. And I expected a lot of resistance and pushback. And he goes, that sounds like a good deal. You should take that. And I said, I didn't expect that.
Kudos to him for doing that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That there was a huge relief off my shoulders hearing him say that, as opposed to him pushing back and like him feeding this scary future to me, because I was like, I expected all of that, and I expected to try and combat all of those points he was making, which would be valid points. And he didn't hit me with any of that.
I think what he knew is that even if you went over there and you didn't like it, you could always come back.
Yeah, which I thought about at one point.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, he probably could have, I don't know that he could have scared you away, but could have made your decision a lot harder.
He very well could have, yeah.
And the funny part is, like, I worked for your father-in-law, and then I quit on him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he didn't have any reason to, like, think highly of me, I don't think.
Right.
So, kudos to him for that.
Yeah. It definitely made that whole thing so much easier.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like I'm a big believer in timing, like trying to force something to happen when everything around it is saying, please don't do this is so tough.
That's what I do.
Yeah. It's just like brute force, make this happen when everything around it is trying to resist that.
Yep.
And that's what I expected. And when I told him that and his response was that, I was like, dude, everything is like clearing the path to make this happen.
Yep.
I should probably do this. And so he asked how long I wanted to give. And I said, well, I think we need to figure out what projects like I'm in the middle of and we have going and wrap those up. And then once those are all cleanly wrapped, then I just move on. And he said, yeah, sounds good. It was a few weeks. And so I finished the job, a long drawn out job on a military base, on Friday, October 1st, 2021. And then I started working for you on Monday, October 4th, 2021. And Friday, I didn't think about it at the time, but Friday I left a job where I was, my opinion, the best technician. I was at the top. I knew what I was doing. I walked into work every situation. I walked into work every day and into every situation every day, confident that I could crush whatever it is that I was dealt. I know I'd be given jobs that are like, oh, this is a bit of a challenge, but it was never more than a bit of a challenge. And I crushed it. Right. And I usually was under budget and under materials. And I like to think I made really good money for my father-in-law every day, not every day, but most days, more often than not. And then Monday I come to work for you. And while I may have been higher paid and more authority than everybody around me, I had zero confidence that I knew what I was doing. I was maybe the big fish there, but like I knew nothing about it. And I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. And it was Monday. So we had the Monday meeting, and then everybody wants to know who this new guy is. And then there's the BSing with the text for a while. And then they want to like shit test me to see if I know anything. So we did that for a bit. And there were 2 new guys that were starting on the same day.
That was a big mistake.
There was. I hope that's on the list. Don't hire a GM and 2 technicians on the same day.
Stupid.
Unless you like difficulty. And so like the majority of the day was filled with trying to settle all that stuff down. And then me and you sat together for the rest of the day trying to figure it out. And in that conversation, you were like, okay, so my plan is I'm going to work closely with you, sit at this desk with you for the next 2 weeks and get you up to speed. And then I'm going to hand everything over to you.
Yeah.
And I said, okay,
That was my
sounds good.
style.
And then Tuesday, we sat together for a little bit. And then you said, I got to go take care of some stuff, like around noon. I got to go take care of some stuff. And so then you left me to my own devices back there. And I'm sitting there clicking away on Service Titan and digging around and just trying to get a grasp on things. And I'm like, dude, what the hell have I done?
Yeah.
I've gone from knowing what I'm doing every day to I have no clue. I don't even know what my job is.
Yeah. That was my fault, by the way.
I was hired on, and my title was going to be service manager. I managed the service department. That was the only department.
Yep.
And I didn't catch it before. I didn't care about that before. But then Monday, day one, you said, by the way, I think we're going to change your title from service manager to general manager. I'm like, okay, that implies something, but I don't know what.
Yep.
And so now, okay, so I'm the GM, and you stepped away for a bit, and my office at the time was half walled off away from everything else. And I'm sitting back there and I'm just like, dude, what the hell did I do? I wonder if I can get my job back. I bet I can get my job back. And then I can go back to knowing what I'm supposed to do. And I'm confident day to day. And I was tripping, dude. If I had been left alone for too much longer, I don't know what decision I would have made. You eventually came back around there and we picked up where we left off, but I was left alone for too long, left alone with my thoughts for far too long. And I was about to make another decision and go get my old job back.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And
could you have brought yourself to do that?
Probably not. But at the time,
that seems totally against your MO.
That was just pure panic.
Maybe you're thinking it, but you would never admit it out loud.
Probably. Yeah.
Until years later.
Obviously. If I said, if I went home and I talked to Daleen and I said, hey, today sucked. I know it was day 1.5, but today sucked. And I think I'm going to go get my old job back.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have gone beyond that conversation.
You're right.
But if I had been left alone for too much longer and I followed the advice that the panicked part of me was giving, then I'd have been in trouble. I would have given up the best opportunity that I had in the last 15 years, in the last whole part of my life, I say. So I was freaking out. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what my job description was. I didn't know what my responsibilities were. I had no clue. And I was feeling it. I was feeling the pressure of it.
The hard part is I didn't know what your job was either.
Sure.
Because I sat in that seat and I was not very good at it. And that's why I was like, I got to get somebody in here that knows, that can do this. And I remember watching Ken Goodrich and he was like, I like military people to be my GMs because they're organized and they're systemized. And I was like, damn, that sounds an awfully lot like Eddie Barkhurst. Maybe I should offer him the GM position.
And if I'm not saying you're trying to hide anything from me, but maybe you didn't even know that you didn't know. I assumed that you didn't even know that you didn't know.
No. Dude, growing prospector up until that point was fly by the seat of my pants.
Just a blur.
I mean, it was I didn't know. I had no clue what I was doing.
Yeah.
It was just I know I can't do this. I need technicians. I need somebody I don't want to do this crap anymore. And so how do I stop having to do all this stuff? Well, I'm going to hire people and we're going to figure out how to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to get as many customers as I can, get technicians, get CSRs, get somebody to run the technicians and the CSRs because I'm terrible at it. Mm-hmm. And then we'll figure out how to make it work on the back end.
Looking back at it now, if you said, or if we acknowledged together, if I had said to you, so what am I supposed to do? And you said, I don't know. And I said, well, I don't know either. Then mindset would have been totally different.
Yeah.
But to me, and this is not because of something that you said, like this is a conclusion I drew, but to me it was, you're the GM now. We talked about that yesterday around lunch.
Yep.
You're the GM now, not the service manager.
Yep.
And I assume you know what all of those responsibilities are, so do them. That's what the conclusion I drew.
Yep.
And so then when you stepped away, then I was like, okay, he expects me to know what it is I'm supposed to do, and I have no effing clue what I'm supposed to do. I hope he doesn't know that. If he knows that, then I'm out, right? And so before he pushes me out because he knows that I don't know what the hell I'm doing, maybe I should just leave. That way I can save a little bit of embarrassment. That was just the panic part of freaking out.
And instead you decided to what?
And instead I like I did when I was hired to be a technician, I went home, and by this time YouTube has got some resources. The internet is reliable. I didn't have an iPhone. I was an Android user back then. Android user back then. And I can research and actually figure out what my responsibility is.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I started looking into, okay, so you just got a job as the GM of a plumbing and heating company. What do I do next? Like if I found that book at Barnes & Noble, I'd be highlighting every word on every page.
Yeah.
And so my mission was to figure out what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
You didn't outright say it. And that kind of came later. Like we both came across that realization. And I don't know how we did, but like figured out that you didn't know what it was exactly that I was supposed to do.
Dude, I didn't know that. Like basically you refined the system and then managed the people to do the system.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, if we could narrow it down to like a super simple
That's a very broad
definition.
Yeah.
It's probably the most simple definition we could come up with it. And I I didn't think, I knew the systems could use some refining. I thought you would probably do that. But what I didn't understand was that I didn't even know people needed managing.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't understand that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because like we got the system, so we got the people, and there we
1
go.
+ 1 = good business.
There we go.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, I knew there needed to be somebody in that seat for when like questions arrive or when what do we do in this scenario arrives, but it goes way deeper than that.
And that's, I guess before we even figured out that that's what my responsibility was, once I started digging around ServiceTitan a bit, I found what your best use for me and my skills would be.
Yep.
We were slammed busy. It was getting cold. Calls after calls were coming in, and we were pushing stuff off, and we can't get to it all.
Yep.
And I came to you and I said, dude, I would be much better served, or you would be much better off if I was out in the field taking these calls. You guys called me with some dumbass question. I would have done the job, and I would have got it done, and we would move on to the next one. I would relieve the pressure of this crazy schedule we have. And you told me, no, your job is in there to go back and manage all of this, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I can't go in the field. And we knew that, but I was hoping we could find some exception. I can't go in the field. So mainly my role seems to be tech support for these guys. And so what I think I can do is help them work on stuff in the field. That's probably what I'll be doing. And that was a big part of my day-to-day was helping the guys technically in the field.
Yep.
And I think
it's technically quite complicated.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Yeah.
Much more so than down here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot to know.
Yep.
And a whole lot of variables. And whoever put that system in, built in a lot of problems that sometimes can be really hard to track.
Yeah.
And so that was where my previous 15 years as a tech in the field came into play. And I was like, okay, so now I can be confident in that one little thing. I don't know about any of the rest of this, but at least I can be confident in that. I'm basically the brain for the technician in the field now.
Yep.
Sweet. Now I feel a lot better, and I don't want to quit my job every day.
Yep.
And so I just rolled with that until more clarity came, I guess. And then you went on vacation for
a month,
the entire month of December.
Yeah.
And I started panicking again because, like, I brought so many questions to you of how do you want this done in your business? And, like, from all of those things I brought to you, I gained a little bit better picture of what it is that you were trying to build.
Yep.
And now you're gone.
Yep.
And I'm not going to call you every day to
Thankfully.
figure out, hey, man, question, this customer said, and so the technician wants to know what to do. What would you want to do? I'm not going to do that. And so now I just got to figure it out on my own and hope this is the right answer. We'll figure out when Jared gets back.
Yep.
And so then that was my first, I started in October. You were gone pretty much all of December. And that was my first attempt at being a unsupervised GM. And I thought it went pretty good.
It was our best revenue month ever.
Was it?
Mm-hmm. I remember thinking, I told my wife, I was like, we just did the most revenue we've ever done. And it was the most profitable we've ever been as well that month. And I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah,
you're starting to
you don't need to be there.
Glimpse.
She was like,
yeah,
you screw it up.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
I know that shortly after that, like, I was so happy to see you guys come back into town. Right after that was like our company Christmas party. And I think you guys came into town maybe early or in time for that. And I was like, dude, I was so happy to see you guys there because I felt like all of the responsibility of it was no longer on me. Yeah. I knew that obviously you still own the business and you still make the major decisions, but you're out for now. And so all of the responsibility is on me.
Yeah.
But you guys being back there was such a huge relief. I was so happy to see you guys back. And then it was kind of from there where your presence in the office was different. Like, maybe the lessons learned during that time was a turning point where you guys realized I don't have to be here all the time.
What I realized honestly was that if I was working with you, I take the wrench out of your hand. I'm that guy.
Yeah.
I can't sit back and watch somebody else do the work. I want to be the one doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because, like, they're doing it wrong. But what I realized was, like, when I go, number one, I worry about things that I shouldn't worry about. And I just love to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, I hired these people. They're qualified to do this thing. I need to just let them do their thing.
I wasn't qualified to do the thing,
but you were.
We were on the way to figure it out.
Like, I can't remember who said it, but it was like somebody like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. They were like, hire great people and then get the hell out of their way. And so, like, that's what I did with you. I was like, well, he's got the mentality. I know he can figure it out. He's got the organization. And being in a management position, you're not a pushover. And it lined up with what Ken Goodrich said. So I was like, I just got to let him do his thing. Mm-hmm. And even to the point where I'm like, I got to let him just learn his own lessons.
Make mistakes.
Even if those mistakes cost money, that's fine. We can always make more money. But and this has kind of just been my MO ever since, just allowing people to make their own mistakes and going, well, yeah.
Dude, a mistake that cost your money was like totally unacceptable to me.
Yeah.
Like, that was...
And I knew that about you.
Yeah.
So it was easier to just say, yeah, good, do your thing.
Totally unacceptable. Like,
the funny part is when you do that, you really find out who the person is.
Sure.
Because I have done that with other people and they do not think the same way. And it becomes very obvious.
Yeah.
And then okay, well, that's somebody that can't be in my business or not at this level.
I can't tell you how many times a situation came up where I'm going to have to initiate a refund, where it looks like the proper resolution, and maybe not even the most appropriate resolution, but the quickest resolution is going to be refund this person some money. Like, I don't agree with doing it, but I'm going to do it because then the fight's over and we move on.
Yeah.
But, like, you had no idea how much I fought over that situation, because we did work that that earned that money. And now I'm about to, like, I don't know what that money did or where it's going or what it was supposed to be doing. And now I got to pull it back out and give it back to this person who may be undeserving of that.
Yeah.
Dude, I fought over that so every time I had to do it. And then I would call you and tell you, and you'd be like, oh, okay, no big deal. And I was like, that's not the response I've been used to hearing.
Yeah.
And so, but then the whole idea on the backside of that was to figure out how to avoid it altogether in the future. And so it was like I was allowed to make mistakes or do those things that, again, maybe not even been the appropriate, but it was this quickest resolution, and there was like no repercussion for it. And both me and you were already on the same page of, okay, we did that thing and it sucked and I don't agree with it, but how do we prevent this forever in the future? And I'm all about that. And that was what I needed going forward for sure.
Yeah. And you figured it out, and we all made a ton of money.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yep.
It was cool. And then we sold it.
Yes.
And now we're here.
Yep.
It's cool. I feel like mine's way less complicated.
Yeah.
Mine was complicated in the beginning. Like I met my wife in high school and got her pregnant when I was 7. I was 16.
Dude, that's life on hard
She
mode.
was 15. I was 16, but I didn't think anything of it. Like, it was just like, yeah, I'm having a kid, whatever.
Yeah.
And then we had a child. She was 16 when he was born. I was 17 when he was born. And then we had to finish high school. She finished a year early. I technically finished on time, but I failed 9th grade, so it was actually a year early.
Okay.
Like, I completely failed 9th grade and had to do 9th grade over. So I did 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th in a 3-year time span. And it's the only reason I actually met Christelle was because I failed 9th grade. We ended up going to the same school and being in the same classes together.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny. And then out of high school, actually senior year of high school, I only had like 3 classes. And I had Thursdays and Fridays off. And I had to buy diapers and baby stuff, right? And so I got a job. My now father-in-law, but my girlfriend's dad at the time, my baby's mama, whatever you want to call it. He was working at a place called Western Mechanical, and he was like, hey, we need a yard bird. They need somebody that can just get stuff together and drive it down to Greeley every Thursday and Friday. So you just gather stuff up and you drive down there and you take stuff down there. And I did that for like the last 6 months of high school, and then got out of high school and started working there 40 hours a week as their yard bird. And I learned what all the fittings were. And I got exposed to a whole new world of like cursing and drinking and drug use and things that I did not know existed, because I grew up in like Christian home. My dad does not cuss. We don't hang out with people who cuss. And here are these guys. They're like, I'm like, holy cow.
Whole new world.
This is a different world. So before you know it, I'm like smoking cigarettes. Yeah. Just like having a fun old time at work. And then I got in the Plumbers Union the following year. Actually, I got in a pre-apprenticeship program that they were doing. And then I got in the Plumbers Union. I cheated on you had to have, my math grades in high school were horrible. And I'm not bad at math.
No, you're not.
I'm fine at math. But in order to get in the Plumbers Union, they wanted to see high math scores on your transcripts. Well, mine were like D's. Like, I just passed just enough to graduate. Mm-hmm. And so I signed up for an online course and then fibbed the certificate.
Oh yeah.
I took I got far enough through it. I took the very first test. I got an F, and I put it on my computer and I wiped out the F and changed the dates and made it look like I completed the whole course with an A.
Nice.
And I submitted that with my resume, and I got in the union. And that's how I got in. I later told them what I did, and they were like, whatever.
Turns out you're okay at math.
Yeah. So I got into the union, and I went through the 5-year apprenticeship. And I got married after high school. As soon as we graduated, we got married. Actually, a year later, because Christelle was 17 when she graduated. And her dad told me she can't get married till she's 18.
Mm,
And so I lived in an apartment and she lived at her parents' house until we got married.
dang.
Yeah.
That's a weird year, I would guess.
It was weird. And I would take, my son's name is Costin. I would take him home like on the weekends. I'd have him like 2 nights out of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just like he would sleep in his stroller, in his car seat, because he liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd be in my bed. And so eventually I took him out of his car seat. I had a couch in my room and I started putting him on the couch. And I would roll up these blankets and create like this like barrier so it doesn't roll off, dude. And that kid, like young, I can't tell you how many times I woke up and he was just on the Grisondable hair,
Sleeping. That's
and
funny.
yeah,
Dude,
Probably
that's like divorced parents type thing, but you guys weren't divorced. You were together.
yeah,
That's wild.
it was weird. But again, I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, well, we had a kid. Cool. We better get married.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got married and just got in the union hall. We had another kid. And then I worked like, we did utilidors. I lucked out actually. My very first year, we built a bunch of condos, like 55 condos. You know which ones I'm talking about.
Yep.
And so I got to do some like residential style plumbing. And then the other 5 years that I was in my apprenticeship, it was all utilidors on bases, which are like underground concrete hallways with steam, water, sewer, condensate.
Mm-hmm.
And we would dig them up, take the lids off, rip all the pipe out, and redo it all. And I did that I did 7 of those in a row, 7 years of those.
Dang.
And then turned out, and they made me foreman on a giant indoor car wash project. And I'd never seen an air handler. I'd never put in a toilet carrier. Like that stuff was just like, I had
No business being a foreman.
Oh,
man.
no business being a foreman. I had no idea what I was doing. So
Yeah.
I got thrown into these like uncomfortable situations and I just had to figure them out. And for the most part I did. I did some silly stuff. Like I remember on that job specifically, I didn't realize that we had bought the air handlers and those were it was like our piece of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's our responsibility to like start them up and make sure the motors are spinning the proper way. And the electrician hooked them up and he asked me if I wanted to go like start up the motors. And I was like, what? Like, well, why? Well, for.
Yeah.
And I remember he looked at me like I was an idiot for the answer I gave him. And I don't remember what it was, but I just remember thinking like, that was not the right answer.
Right.
I'm missing some context here. I got to go figure this out. After that, they made me foreman on this other building, like a cold weather research building. Again, never been in a commercial building, never done commercial plumbing. Had to figure that one out. All of a sudden, I'm the foreman of like welders who are like in their 50s. And I'll tell you what, them dudes, like I was a little nervous until I found out how stupid they were.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are dumb.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you can weld, but geez Louise.
You're going to be in charge of somebody.
I had to go in and like pre-draw out their whole thing and tell them their cut pieces for them to like be able to put this thing together.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are idiots. Anyway, did that. And then I worked with a guy, and I was like, I'm going to go start my own business. I'd got enough years in to be able to go start my own business. It's 9 years before you can get your mechanical administrator license. So 9 years in, I got my mechanical administrator license. And I think at year 10, I was like, I'm going to go start my own business. And he was like, I want to start it with you. I've always wanted to do that. So yeah, 2 heads are better than one. This is going to be great. Have a business partner. I don't have to do all the work. And it wasn't a terrible decision. It was a good learning experience is what it was. But we did that for like a year. Just working nights and weekends on our own business. Got involved with a dude who bought and flipped houses and rented them out. So he would go in, we would do all the plumbing, and then got pretty involved with a restoration contractor. So anything that flooded or caught on fire, they would go in and redo them. And we basically made $0 for an entire year, and then realized that like me and this other guy, our values don't align. And so I quit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like 11 years in at working for the same contractor. I worked for a company called American Mechanical for 11 or 12 years. Yeah. And I was the foreman out on a fire station. Again, not qualified to do that. We were doing stuff I'd never done before.
Mm-hmm.
Trench drains. Actually, before that, I worked at, oh no, this was afterwards. I just kept getting myself into situations that I was not qualified for.
Sure.
I don't know how I always ended up in that. But even starting my own business, I had no idea. Like
Mm-hmm.
we were tuning boilers, no clue.
Mm-hmm.
No clue what I was doing. And then let's see. So I quit that business and I stayed working for American, and then they laid me off. I became a giant asshole because like that they were really frustrating to work for, and 12 years had gotten to me.
You had enough.
And I had enough.
Yeah.
And so they actually laid me off, and the way they did it was really crappy. Like I was the foreman of this project. There were only 2 foremen at the company.
Mm-hmm.
And this project, they had completely ran the Corps of Engineers out of money. And so the Corps of Engineers was having to shut down the job. And so I got instructions that on Monday, that Friday was going to be everybody's last day. And that we made a bunch of pallet boxes and got all the fittings in pallet boxes and got everything inside. And I told all the guys, hey, Friday's going to be your last day. And I'd worked for this company for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And Friday afternoon, I call the owner of the company and I'm like, hey, where am I going on Monday? He goes, oh, today's your last day. And I was like, oh, okay.
Nice.
Thanks. So Monday I went to work for a different contractor and, got in, started. They made me foreman of a grocery store remodel.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I've never put in a grease trap. I've never put in a commercial sink. I've never done any of that stuff.
So figuring out how to do it on the fly has
It's been my MO forever. And then somewhere in there, we started, it was J&J Mechanical. I gave that away. I started J-Rods for a year somewhere in there. I think it was after I went to work for Western. And then I did it for a year and shut it down because I couldn't make money at it. And then, but I gained the experience of like learning how to do service work, which I'd never done before. And then I went to work for Western again. And I went to work for some company out of Anchorage working on military bases again. That was more in my zone. And I went to work for holiday parks in there as well for your father-in-law. And I was always just miserable working for people.
Yeah.
Hated it.
Yeah.
It was terrible. It's like, man, this just, I don't know. I don't want to do plumbing anymore is what it was. It's like tired of it. It's like hanger, pipe, put it together.
Yeah.
Hanger, pipe, put it together. Hanger, pipe, put it together. Over and over and over and over and over and over. I was like, yeah. And I was young. I was like 35 at the time. And I thought, and I got to be 68 to retire. So there's 23 more years.
33 more years.
33 more years. Yeah, that's
good at math.
That's 33 more years. Yeah, I'm good at math. I was like, there's no way I can continue to do this for 33 more years. I have to find something else to do. So then I started up. I quit I was working for Western. The last job I had was for Western Mechanical, the company that I had been a yardbird for like way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working for a guy named Kevin Church, best person I ever worked for. Super, super awesome. You could show up to work. He'd give you a drawing. He had all the fittings there. You could put your head down, put your music on, and just jam out work. And the day would just fly by. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to the end of the job, and there was like, I don't know, a handful of people left. And he was going to lay everybody off except for me. And it was like, I'd been through this phase before where we go through all the commissioning on the job, and it's super slow and boring. And I was like, nope, I'm out. Today's my last day. And so I quit, And I was like, cool, I'm going to go see what else the union hall has. And I went down to the union hall and they're like, we don't have anything. And we're probably not going to have anything for a while.
And you're thinking, I should have thought about that a little more.
Yeah. Well, I never, I don't know. I've always been able to just go get another job.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of slow at that point in time. And then so I went and I had turned my van into a camper van.
Mm-hmm.
I went back home. I ripped all the crap out of my camper van and I built some shelves back in it. And I said, well, I guess I'm back in business.
Yeah.
And then I was like, man, maybe I can make this work. And decided to push you on Prospector and figure out how to make it work that time. And then I did. And then I hired you.
Yeah.
And
so before all of that professional, like we knew each other and I don't even remember, like.
We knew each other like acquaintance. We were an acquaintance.
Yeah.
Because we had a friend, my friend Eric Gettinger, your friend Eric Gettinger.
Mm-hmm.
We were both friends with Eric Gettinger. Like I grew up with Eric Gettinger. And then we'd kind of like crossed paths. They would always be like, oh yeah, Eddie's a plumber. And I'd be like,
who's that?
Yeah, who's that guy?
Yeah.
He don't know what he's doing. I don't know. I have no idea what I thought.
Sure.
But yeah, and then and then I came to work.
So I can't remember, like, yeah, we met each other through Eric Gettinger, but then like outside of all work, I ended up hanging out at your house with Eric and all of the friends and like.
Yeah, because we'd have big barbecues and
then that's how me and you kind of got to know each other a little bit. And then my daughter became friends with your daughter. And then my daughter's hanging out at your place, spending the night with your daughter. Right. And then I come pick her up. And then we just kind of became friends outside of work that way. But not like we're hanging out together every weekend friends, but like getting to know each other and realizing that we don't dislike each other type of friends, right? And then we worked together at Holiday for.
I didn't work there very long.
A short amount of time. You got pretty sick of it pretty quick, for good reason. Like there was a lot of things that were.
I look back on it and I'm like,
maybe it wasn't that big of a deal.
But I felt like it was a big deal at the time because they were a sheet metal union. They hired me as a plumber out of the plumbers union. The plumbers union is like calling me and telling me to keep tabs on them and make sure the sheet metal guys aren't doing anything. And so I went and told your father-in-law, I said, hey, it's like, I just want you to know, like the plumbers union is asking me to keep tabs on you. Mm-hmm. I'm not telling them anything, but don't ask me to like lie to them and don't put me in an awkward situation. Well, then I think there were a few awkward situations, and the last one I was at a job that I was supposed to be doing all the stuff in, and he had a sheet metal guy there putting the water lines in. And I went down there and I was like, what the hell are you doing? And he was like, I'm putting a water line in. I'm like, you can't do that.
Yeah. And he got worked up.
Pissed. Yeah. He was not happy about that. And your father-in-law he was out of town at the time. And then the guy who was running the company called me into his office. He's like, what's going on? And I'm like, look, you guys were putting me in a pickle. Mm-hmm. I don't like the pickle that you're putting me in. So now when the plumbers union asks me, are they doing any plumbing over there? What am I supposed to say?
What's the answer?
Throw my employer under the bus or lie to the union hall? When the inspector comes in, because we were on a job in city limits where he was not licensed to do the work that he was doing, what do you want me to say to the inspector? I would appreciate it if you didn't put me in that pickle. Anyway, I think I was just like, whatever, I'll just go back to do something else. Mm-hmm. I felt bad about it, but anyway, I don't know. Looking back on it now, I would be like, yeah, whatever.
Sure.
I'm not going to lie, but if that gets you in trouble, that's your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what got us here. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in there, I moved because after that month off, and my time frame is totally screwed up on this, and I've probably misquoted a million times, but I took that whole December off, and I swear I moved like the following May.
That's the way I remember it too. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I moved in May. Meanwhile, January, February, March, April, May. The month I'm moving away, we're losing money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometime in May, before I left.
You might have been gone a little bit before that because you had to go and plumb your dad's house.
Yeah, I left, plumbed my dad's house. I came back, and then I left again left in like February to go plumb my dad's house. Then I came back again in May. And I remember we'd been losing money, and I just thought we're just slow. Some months you lose money, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But then after a few months in a row, I'm like, we're gonna run out of cash. Like we can't keep doing this. And it got a little scary.
But you were moved away by then, right?
No,
Not quite.
I was there. I walked out. I saw it was like after a Monday morning meeting. I was looking at all these people, looking at you, thinking about everybody's wives and children and house payments and car payments. And I felt a massive responsibility. And I was like, I have to figure this thing out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went that day. I just crunched numbers to try to figure out what in the hell was going on. And the only conclusion I could come up with was we need to raise prices.
Mm-hmm.
So we raised prices, and it was one of those things at the time where I was like, this is either good. I didn't think it was going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we were going to come in the next day because we went from $395 to $595 overnight. It was $425 to $595.
Mm-hmm.
Big jump, biggest jump in price increase ever. And I thought nobody's going to buy anything. The technicians are going to freak out. They're all going to quit. And then came in the next day and like nobody even noticed.
Yeah.
Nobody said a word.
Mm-hmm.
And we still sold stuff. And I think literally like a week later, I was leaving. Because I remember I was in Chicago when I got the July P&L.
Mm.
And I remember looking and we made $100,000 net profit. And I was like, that was the first month we'd made. That was record profits.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap, it worked.
We cracked the code. Yeah.
And it was such a big relief because I was moving at the time,
mm-hmm.
moving down to Florida. And yeah, and then the 100K months never ended.
Mm-hmm.
And we just made them better and better and better over time, made better decisions, ended up lowering prices back down because we figured out what we were doing and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of I was stressed as all get out moving down here.
It didn't look that way.
No, I don't like people know.
Inside you might have been freaking out, but outside, like and I tried to follow your lead on all of that.
Yep.
But outside, like I got zero indication of that. And so
what's funny about it is probably the best thing to do. Like my wife pushed that whole thing. And I don't normally let her do that. And
of moving out of Alaska?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She wanted to move, and then she was like, you need to get away because you're going to screw this thing up.
I remember there was one point where me and you were hanging out after everybody had gone home and we were talking about stuff, and then you got pulled away for something, and she said, I really appreciate what you're doing. And I'm like, I don't think I'm doing anything. But she was, she said, I feel like I've got my husband back because he's.
Yeah, because when you like start a business and you push on it that hard, you see all the holes in it.
Yeah.
Every last one of them. And you think this thing is going to tumble over at any second.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
It's a freaky feeling. And you don't sleep at night thinking about the things that can go wrong and probably will go wrong at some point in time. And you wonder if the risk is worth the reward.
Sure.
Or if the juice is worth the squeeze. And then you're all like stressed out. And like I'd spent the last 2 years like not eating right, not exercising, not caring about my health at all. And so I'm not in a good position physically, which is affecting my mental capacity. And then, you see all the holes in the company and then it's losing money. And thankfully it was just all worked out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was I don't want to say stressful because I don't feel like I get stressed out, but I was probably stressed out and didn't realize it.
Sure.
Yeah. But I remember just thinking like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? I have a multi-million-dollar company in Fairbanks, Alaska, and it's like basically brand new, and I'm just going to leave it up there.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I would think about it, I'd be like, okay, well, Eddie's up there. I'm really just not involved that much in the day-to-day anyways. So it's probably possible to just run it from afar. And that was probably one of the best things because it forced me to learn the numbers. Like, rather than going in and getting a feel
Mm-hmm.
or seeing what's going on, I had to get data from you and look at a P&L and look at the data in Service Titan and understand what's going on and what the data means.
And all of that, those conversations between me and you where you are trying to gather that data,
Yeah.
like as difficult as it was at times, like I quickly understood how important it is that one, me and you communicate well, but then the quality of the information I give you is incredibly important.
Incredibly.
And so in order for me to give you quality information, I really need to understand what's going on here in order to decipher and then pass that information to you so that you can then hopefully make good decisions with it and then tell me what it is we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then it was tough. You guys moving away. I felt really good by the time you guys were gone.
Uh-huh.
Naively felt really good, probably better than I should have about a lot of things. But I felt really good by the time you guys left. And I was like, okay, he left me in charge of this, of the day-to-day everything. He's not even here to look over. He's not here to interrupt me when I'm about to do something stupid.
Yep.
So you got to figure it out.
Yep.
And that was pretty key for me to develop into enough of a GM to be worth a shit.
Yeah, and then we did that for what? Like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Just ran remotely. And we just said, I just got better and better and more profitable and smoother and smoother. And yeah, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
We really got a good understanding of you got a good understanding of how the business runs day to day in the office.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a really good understanding of what makes it run on the back end to make the stuff, whatever you do, because I don't even know what half of that was, but
right.
I learned all the back end stuff, and it was very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
It allowed me, honestly, like leaving and not having to worry about the day to day, allowed me to just go research.
Mm-hmm.
Like I started watching YouTube videos and podcasts and hiring mentors and coaches and all sorts of stuff to try to figure that crap out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was super valuable, super valuable.
Forced us to kind of have to, like, in the absence of you being there, like you created this business and you have the probably clearest definition of what you want the business to be, and I can't.
Little did you know, I had no idea.
No, I didn't find that out for a while.
I just didn't want to do plumbing anymore.
Sure,
that was it. I was so tired of doing it. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like if I could never, like I would say back then, if I never touched plumbing anything ever again, I'd be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still kind of that way. Sometimes I get the itch to go do stuff,
and I fought that for a long time. I was like, no, dude, I'm a
technician.
I'm a technician, and I'm really good at it, and I hope I never lose that skill.
Yeah, but if you want to grow a business or be a manager of a business, then you have to like move out of that technician mindset, hire people to be the technicians, and then you have to learn how to like run the business.
Dude, you really need to set down your tools.
Yeah,
like physically set down your tools, figuratively set down your tools, and move into a different position.
Yes, and learn a whole new skill set.
Yep.
Yes.
Be willing to, move into a position where you know nothing or you know far too little.
The skill set you actually need to learn is, there's a few skill sets. There's like how to systemize and process things, and then how to manage people, which just means how to get people into your organization that fit, that are a good culture fit, and then get them to do the systems and processes. And then recognize when they're not a good fit or when they can't do the processes and get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's that skill set. And then there's like an understanding of just how the business works,
Mm-hmm.
like the customer mentality, the P&L, what measurements, you can look at that are going to predict how your P&L is going to look, and what happens out in the field that makes those measurements good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's the skill you have to learn.
Yeah.
And it sounds easy when I say it like that, but to go from technician, to go from like growing up, we weren't poor by any means, but we weren't wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And every decision was made based on financials. Like, we didn't hire people to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up from that to then going to work with all these plumbers who, like, they're like, the mindset of the plumbers that I worked with seems very different than the mindset of the plumbers I see down here.
Mm-hmm.
They're very just like hardcore. We're men.
Yes.
We don't pay people to fix stuff. They're ripping you off. Blah. Like, I worked with a guy who called 3 different companies to get prices for his mud boots.
Okay.
And he saved himself like $2.
Oh, dude, that's very responsible.
That was those are the mindsets of the people that I work with. Like, we're just going to go home and drink beer and beat our old ladies. And we spent all our money on our trucks. So I live in a trailer house.
Yeah.
That's the plumbers in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
So going from like those mindsets into becoming a business owner, that's a huge mind shift.
Yeah.
And that's probably been the hardest part, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Probably just like learning how to think differently.
Yeah.
And like, most people believe a lot of crap that is not true.
Mm-hmm.
That if they would stop believing it, they would immediately just progress in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finding and removing your own limiting beliefs is incredibly difficult.
Oh, it's freaking hard.
But worth the effort.
So what I found is that, and I posted this in our coaching program the other day, our community, by the way, Wealthy Plumber. You can go to wealthplumber.com. Actually, the link for our school group is in the description down below. I posted this in there that man, what was it? Like, the fastest way to succeed is to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fastest way to learn is to fail. And then the fastest way to fail is to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, people get so caught up and they're all worried about stuff. And I have learned so much in the last, I'm 40 and I was 35 when I started Prospector. The last 5 years.
Yeah.
There's been a ton of growth. I've learned a ton of information. And none of it, like, it was all just because I went out and did and got myself in a predicament.
Mm-hmm.
And threw myself into the situation where I had no idea what to do, just like you when you became GM.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I have to figure this out.
Yeah.
And so then you're forced to solve a problem. And you learn so much when you fail, encounter a problem, and you're forced to solve it.
Mm-hmm.
So my advice would be just go start doing stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Figure out what it is you want and start pushing towards it.
Don't be scared to venture into territory that you've never been before.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's necessary.
Cool.
Did we stay on topic at all?
I mean, I had a bunch of points in here, but we kind of hit them all inadvertently.
Organically gone through it.
Yeah.
Dude, we're good.
We're good podcasters.
Yeah, we are.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on today, Holmes.
Yeah, man. Thanks. It's a good conversation.
Everybody watching this, make sure and you can go to wealthyplumber.com and grab a bunch of free resources. There's a link down below to our plumbing business community. There's 860 plumbing business owners in there, all sharing what they're doing, all trying to get better. It's absolutely invaluable. Plus, we have a whole classroom learning section in there where you can watch videos and learn how to run your plumbing business, from pricing to marketing to hiring to accountability, the whole 9 yards. Go check it out. See you guys in there. Later.